So I'm doing something different, and when I say different, very extreme, very against the grain, especially with the idea of industries changing, especially with Netflix, Warner Brothers. It raises the question, what happens to the independent filmmaker? And when we think about the independent filmmaker, we think of filmmakers who are making movies for A24 or vice versa, right? But we never think about the indie filmmakers, the shoestring filmmakers, who they don't have any studio support. I've been making movies since the cliche, since high school. I started my first feature film, or made my first feature film, in 2016 and completed in 2017, titled Paranoid Flux. Afterwards, I followed up with Cut the Tech, which was an experimental film, slow burn cinema that had the story on the usage of technology and cell phones, and this is I call it a pre-COVID pandemic film, because the motivation of that film was to stop you from using your phone and social media. Yet little did we know that we were going to have the pandemic and lockdown. And during that time, we were very much invested with our phones and technology. And so that film kind of just, was a fragment of the time before the pandemic. And right now we are living in the post COVID era. The film that we're making, the third film, The French Driver, it's been a year, and I'm very thankful that I've had the opportunity to start this project. And if you've ever made a film, if you've ever made a feature film or a short film, it takes time. It takes time to make the craft, to make the story. And especially if you don't have a big studio, or if you don't have any financial backing, everything falls on you as the filmmaker. In my case, I'm used to doing everything. And if you've ever been an indie filmmaker, you know the story is you do everything, right? You're the jack of all trades. You're the cameraman, you're the editor, you're the director, the writer, producer, so forth. I knew from the get-go, when I wanted to make movies, I never gave myself an excuse. I always liked the idea that you can make it regardless of budget constraints and timing. It's just really comes down to the director and their motivation to just move forward. This series is, I wouldn't say documentary, I wouldn't say the life of. We're living in the age of YouTube, and YouTube is just changing everything, all platforms, whether you're a filmmaker, a designer, everything. And so I've talked to filmmakers here locally, and I've talked to industry experts, and they have different opinions on where it's going right now. And now I want to say that right now we're at a reset. We're at a wild west. And I think if Scorsese, Coppola, Lucas, Spielberg, the Hollywood greats were to redo it again in this day and age, I truly believe that they would utilize YouTube to its maximum potential. And so my channel is dedicated to my films, my feature films, my documentaries. And so now I'm trying this new approach, which is, if you want to call it, reflective pieces. I'm going to do a series on the journey of the French Driver. Now, we're not completely finished. It's been a year, and we only have 2 days of production. And like I said, it's been a year. This is the longest film that I've been active in. Paranoid Flux, I was able to shoot that in a good 2-month period with a good 5-month, 4-month editing time. Cut the Tech was shot in a month, weekends. And during lockdown COVID, I was able to edit the film. A couple of years pass, The French Driver, we're still in production. But we need 2 more days. And after that, we're going into post. With every project, with every feature, I challenge myself as a filmmaker. And so one lesson I learned on this production on The French Driver was to have patience, much more patience, more than I had originally. And it's just knowing that, you know what, I'm going to chip away and I'm going to finish it. With this, you'll get to have a sneak peek of the process. Now, it's not revealing the film, because the way I work is I don't like to reveal too much. And some people have said, well, you make it all cryptic. Why don't you show? Well, like I said, we're living in a time where we're showing everything. And me personally, if you show too much, you might reveal too much of the story. In this case, this series is not so much talking about the story, but more of the reflections and how I felt and the issues and the problems that popped up during that day. YouTube utilizes or gives the filmmaker the option to just go beyond the film and connect with the audience. And so right now I am connecting with you, and in reality, I want you to follow the journey of The French Driver. And through these episodic series, you can see what happened, right? But like I said, I'm not going to reveal too much. And as we go into that finishing day, that final day of editing and releasing or announcing the day of premiering the film, I invite you to join me on this journey of reflections on The French Driver. And so at the very end, once it's completed, I'll invite you to watch the film, whether it be a theatrical release, which we'll do here locally in El Paso, Texas, and eventually a world premiere on YouTube. So stick around. And I'm going to say that infamous cliche: follow, subscribe, and join us. Thank you.